You know, Alzheimer's is not a popular disease. This is not a cool disease to have. Jerry Lewis isn't going to do a telethon for us. We don't get to have our own poster child. You know, we don't get to have a survivor's lap because there are no survivors for Alzheimer's. We don't have anything to celebrate. And you know, part of it is Alzheimer's is still thought to be, you know, that funny old people thing. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. You know, people will still come up to me and say, I was going to sign up to walk, but I might forget. Ha ha ha. Well, let me tell you that that is not funny to me. Alzheimer's isn't funny. In a crowded dining room where my dad lived, we're sitting at the table. And I'm sure everybody's watching us because we were the new kids on the block. And he says to me, why won't you spend the night with me? Why won't you sleep with me? You're my wife. And I was humiliated because that's taboo. And that's not funny. And in Costco, I used to take my dad to Costco because that was where he could cruise around. My dad had diarrhea in Costco because one of the problems of Alzheimer's is you lose control of all your bodily functions. You know, and I'm trying to get my dad out of the store and he's walking really slow, trailing God knows what behind him like this. And I'm trying to get him out of the store, and you know how busy Costco is on a Saturday, and I'm apologizing to the front-end staff. And I get my dad into the car and I say, Dad, just wait here. I have to run back in and pay for the groceries. And I can only imagine how humiliated he was. And let me tell you, that's not funny. You know, when I was rehearsing my speech with my girlfriend at work, she said, oh, you might not want to say that about, you know, that the word because you might offend somebody. Well, you know what? Too bad. Because I am offended by Alzheimer's. That's just too bad. And a familiar chant my dad would say over and over and over. Where is my wife? Where is my wife? Where is my wife? And in my ignorance, one day I gently said to him, Dad, Gina died in 1986. And he fell to the floor crying in grief as if though he were hearing it for the very first time, and all I could think of was, oh my God, what have I done to my dad? And let me tell you, that wasn't funny. And as we sat together in the living room where he lived in the assisted living, where we sat together every day for over 3 years, as he would watch cars go by, I always came in a white car. So it wouldn't matter what kind of white car was pulling up. He was sure I was going to get out of it. And we're sitting there together one day, and he looks at me and he points to the front door and he says, pretty soon my Jenny's going to come through that door. And I said, you bet she is, Dad. And my heart broke, and that was not funny. Alzheimer's is not funny. And when he was asked to leave the assisted living because he wandered, he didn't understand. So it was much like when you take your beloved pet who's dying of cancer, and you say, come on, Rover, let's get in the car, we're going to go for a walk, we're going to go for a swim in the lake one last time, and you give him a bone and you get in the car, and you take him to the vet for that final ride. That's what I did to my dad. He didn't understand, so I tricked him. I said, Dad, let's go get some ice cream, because he loved ice cream. And we got in the car, and I drove him to a locked facility, and I locked him up. I betrayed my dad. And let me tell you, that's not funny. And so in talking to my little sister, you know, as a volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association, it's a constant daily reminder in my head, you know, your dad died of Alzheimer's, your dad died of Alzheimer's. And I'm like, God, it's a constant reminder. And I thought, you know what, maybe I need to let this go. Maybe I need to let this go. This is hard work to do. And in talking with my little sister, who is my staunchest supporter, and she pulls no punches, I said, you know, Jeannie, maybe I just need to, like, get on with it and let Dad go. And she said, you better believe you do. Well, you know what? Too bad I'm not going to do that, because I think complacency is the big problem. I'm not going to be complacent with this disease. Maybe I don't have to wear my worry pants anymore when the phone rings, thinking it's going to be a call about my dad. But I'm not ready to take off my sad jacket and my crying hat. I'm not going to be complacent. If I do nothing else for the rest of my life, it's going to fight the perception that Alzheimer's is not funny. I'm going to write letters to the editor, which they probably won't print since they haven't printed them yet. I'm going to write letters to my congressman that maybe only staffers will read. But I will not shut up. You can count on that. I will not shut up. And so to our chapter office, while we may not have met our goals this year, and I'm sorry for that, you can't put a price on dedication and passion and commitment, and that you can take to the bank. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." I love you, Dad. This one's for you.